happening in our lives, is it decided by somebody up there or by you or by people around you? It all depends what happens. It all depends what's happening with your life, isn't it? And how much is happening in your life also depends how active a life you're living, isn't it? Not the same amount of things happen in everybody's lives. In some people's life, too many things are happening. In some people's lives, people are dying of boredom. Yes, isn't it? A lot of people are dying of boredom, isn't it? So, who is making all this happen? If I try to make this very brief, it may be very badly misunderstood because too much has been said about these things in the past. Right now, you had your dinner. Let's go from the simplest things. You had your dinner. Whether you ate idli or dosa or chapati or rice, who decides this? Who decides this? Who? Huh? Cook did not decide that. How many options you have, the cook decided that. What you chose and ate, who decides this? You decided, yes? He's not saying anything. You decided. How many dosas you eat? Who decides that? Really? Who decides it? Yourself. Whether you eat just enough or you eat too much or too little, who decides this? You decide it. So now you have eaten the dosas, you ate 10 dosas, now you have indigestion. Who decides this? Ah, look at that. I'm not making a joke out of it. Let's understand it from the simplest perspective. See, now you ate 10 dosas, your stomach is aching. Really, if it gets very bad, you really think, from somewhere else this is coming to you, why did I deserve this? Suppose you died of this. People have died, isn't it? A lot of people have died because they don't know when to stop eating. Isn't it so? Many people have died because they didn't have anything to eat. Many more people have died because they don't know when to stop eating, isn't it? For both they have died, isn't it? People have suffered hunger, people have suffered indigestion, yes? So people who suffer hunger, circumstances, maybe it's not their choice to be hungry, circumstances may be making it happen. People who suffer indigestion, they don't choose indigestion either, but just that little indiscretion about how much to eat, you do not know. Now, even in those situations where circumstances are making people hungry, there are some ingenious people who manage to have something to eat, isn't it? Yes? Yes or no? Even the worst situation, somebody survives, isn't it? So who decides all this? We have always been thinking, something from above is deciding these things. There are many, many things in this world right now. For example, in our country, so many people are hungry. 40% of the people still can barely eat in this country. Who decides this? We thought it's from above, you know? Do you know in 1947 when we got our independence, the average life expectancy of an Indian was 27 years? 27. Today, it has reached some 62, 63. So all those people who died, who decided that? We thought it's destiny, it's God's will. Some things we took into our hands and suddenly Their life expectancy from 27 to 60 is not a small change in life, isn't it? Is it a small change? By now, what it means, 27 means, all of us in this many people, what 60, 70 people here, at least 70% of us should have been dead by now. To set an average of 27, at least 70% of us should be dead by now. We are here because some things we took into our hands, isn't it? Whatever we are handling well is working for us. Whatever we are not handling well is not working for us, isn't it so? Yes? Who decides all this? Yes, there is a collective situation, of course, but it's individual people, ultimately, isn't it? It is just that we have always mixed these things up. The physicality of life and the other dimension of life, we have mixed these things up. This idea that somebody else may be running our lives from somewhere else has happened because the less we understand of life, the more we think it is happening from somewhere else. If you get a stomachache, you think God is against you. You know, when people got stomachache, they ran straight to the temple some time ago. Now you run to the doctor. Yes or no? Even now it is happening, isn't it? Somebody gets stomachache, they'll run to the temple, not to the doctor. If you run to the temple, sometimes it goes away because running to the temple itself is a solution. Running is always a solution for stomachache. I'm not saying the other dimension doesn't exist. We have exaggerated it and misplaced it completely. Completely exaggerated it. And this misunderstanding has led to such a disaster that human beings have crippled themselves of all capability, isn't it? Yes? Because if you believe somebody else is deciding everything, where is the need for you to enable yourself? Somebody else will anyway do it. We have not learned to be straight with our lives. That's the biggest problem. If you're unwilling to be straight with yourself, then there is no question of spirituality. The first and foremost thing is that you're absolutely straight with yourself. Maybe you can't be straight with anybody, that's up to you, but you must be straight with yourself. Otherwise, you deceive this person, that's your choice. If you deceive these people, there will be certain social consequence. You have to face it, whatever, that's up to you. But if you start deceiving this one, you will deceive yourself out of life, isn't it? Yes? And that's all that's happening. That's all that's happening to people. There is so much happening to your life that you cannot understand. Everything that you cannot understand, we have found a simple solution, a childish solution. Somebody up there is managing everything for us. This is just a simple childish solution. This whole idea has come to you because, see, you crawled out of your mother's womb. You looked around, so much creation. Obviously you didn't do it. You looked at your mother, she didn't look like a person who could deliver this planet. She delivered you, but obviously she couldn't create all this. You looked at your father, he didn't look like that either. Nobody looked like capable of creating all this. The simple thing is, somebody sitting up there and doing it. Now you know, you have enough science in the world to know there is no up and down. What you think up may be down, isn't it? Maybe you're looking in the wrong direction. If you look at yourself as life, you're just like any other worm or insect on this planet with little more capability, isn't it? Isn't it so? If you just sit somewhere and watch the ants or the bees, or if you dive down into the water, watch the fish or something, they have a complete life of their own. They have their own societies, they have their own laws, they have their own families, they have their own attachments. Have you noticed this? Just like us, they have everything going, isn't it? Just because of little extra capability, we are like this. Suppose there were much larger animals than us on this planet. Let's say there were dinosaurs on this planet. Maybe tomorrow morning you're breakfast for somebody, isn't it? Like a worm is a breakfast for somebody tomorrow morning, you could be a breakfast for somebody, isn't it so? We've been on that level somewhere, isn't it so? Yes? So, we're just another piece of life, totally exaggerated in our minds, too exaggerated. If you stop the exaggeration, just look at life the way it is. The only thing that you know about your life is your body, your mind, your emotion, your energies you can infer to some extent. You can only work with what's on your hand. What's on your mind is only an idea, it's not a reality, isn't it? Yes? What's on your mind is not a reality, it's just an idea, isn't it? You can have whatever kind of ideas you want, it need not have anything to do with reality. Let's start working with reality and extend our perception. Let's see next step and next step and next step where it goes. If we make conclusions, that's a sure way of not enhancing our perception.